I decided it's finally time to upload that Hobbit video that I've been saying I would upload. It's kind of windy up here. In case you didn't see my other video where I mentioned this, Super6207 commented The Hobbit that I should read, and EDZ or EDZ, I'm really sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, she commented Revolution, so those were the only commenters. So I went to Andy for the tiebreaker and he said I should do The Hobbit, so I have The Hobbit right here. Yeah, see that. Yeah. And also I have Stuart's. Andy got him from the cereal box for me. I was so excited. But yeah, so this book is written by J.R.R. Tolkien. I do not own it. It was published by Delray Books. You see it right there. So yeah. But I'm going to read it for you and hope that I don't get in trouble for it. So, this is J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit, and Chapter 1, Part 1. Here are the first two maps in the book that I feel like I should show. Show this.
You need to pick up the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the first map. And then here is the second map.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Chapter 1. An Unexpected Party.
Alright.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole, full of ants of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole, with nothing in it to sit down or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel without smoke, paneled walls and floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly but not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all of the people for many miles around called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on the other. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm sorry. I have been told that when I'm reading, I talk really fast, so I'm sorry if I'm talking a little too fast for you. I'll try and slow down a little, but if you want to, you can get the book from the library and you can read along with me too, if that would help you somehow. So yeah. Where was I? No going upstairs for the hobbit. Bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these. Wardrobes, had whole rooms devoted to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows, deep-set round windows looking over his garden, and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. This hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them are rich, but also because they had never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without bothering to ask it him. This is the story of how a Baggins had an adventure, and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost a neighbor's respect, but he gained, well, you'll see what he gained in the end. The mother of our particular hobbit. What is a hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. They are, or were, a little people, about half our height and smaller than the bearded dwarves. Hobbits have no beards. There is little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants which they can hear a mile off. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly green and yellow. Wear no shoes, because their feet grow natural leathery soles and their warm brown hair like the stuff on their heads, and thick warm brown hair like the stuff on their hair, sorry, which is curly. They have long, clever brown fingers, good-natured faces, and laugh deep, fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it. Now you have enough to go on with. As I was saying, the mother of this hobbit, of Bilbo Baggins that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of the 3 remarkable daughters of the Old Took, head of the hobbits who lived across the water, the small river that ran at the foot of the hill. It was often said, in other families, that long ago one of the Took ancestors must have taken a fairy wife. That was, of course, absurd, but certainly there was still something not entirely hobbit-like about them, and once in a while members of the Took clan would go on and have adventures. They discreetly disappeared, and the family hushed it up, but the fact remains that the Tooks were not as respectable as the Bagginses, though they were undoubtedly richer.
Sorry, that was unnice.
Not that Belladonna Took ever had any adventures after she became after she became Mrs. Bungo Baggins. Bungo, that was Bilbo's father, built the most luxurious hobbit hole for her, and partly with her money. That was to be found either under the hill or over the hill or across the water, and there they remained to the end of their days. Still, it is probable that Bilbo, her only son, although he looked and behaved exactly like a second edition of his solid and comfortable father, got something a bit queer in his makeup from the Took side, something that only waited for a chance to come out, and a chance never arrived until Bilbo Baggins was grown up, being about 50 years old or so, and living in the beautiful hobbit hole built by his father, which I have just described for you, until he had in fact apparently settled down immovably. By some curious chance one morning long ago, in the quiet of the world, when there was less noise and more green, and the hobbits were still numerous and prosperous, and Bilbo Baggins was standing at his door after breakfast, smoking an enormous long wooden pipe that reached nearly to his woolly toes, neatly brushed. Gandalf came by. Gandalf! I can't talk. I'm sorry, guys. If you had heard only a quarter of what I have heard about him, and I have heard only very little of all there is to hear, you would be prepared for any sort of remarkable tale. Tales and adventures sprouted up all over the place wherever he went, in the most extraordinary fashion. He had not been down that way under the hill for ages and ages, not since his friend the Old Took died. In fact, and the hobbits had almost forgotten him. And they almost forgot what he looked like. He had been away over the hill and across the water on business of his own since they were all small hobbit boys and hobbit girls.
Good, I was yawning.
All that the unsuspecting Bilbo saw that morning was an old man with a staff. He had a tall, pointed blue hat, a long gray cloak, a silver scarf over which his long white... "Good morning," said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining and the grass was very green. But Gandalf looked at him from under his long, bushy eyebrows and stuck out further than the brim of his shady hat. "What do you mean?" he said. "Do you wish me a good morning, or mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or that you feel good this morning? Or that it is a morning to be good on?" "All of them at once," said Bilbo, "and a very fine morning for a pipe of tobacco out of doors, into the bargain. If you have a pipe about you, sit down and have a fill of mine. There's no hurry. We have all the day before us." Then Bilbo sat down on a seat by his door, crossed his legs, and blew out a beautiful gray ring of smoke that sailed up into the air without breaking and floated away over the hill. "Very pretty," said Gandalf, "but I have no time to blow smoke rings this morning. I am looking for someone to share in an adventure that I am arranging. It is very difficult to find anyone." "I should think so in these parts. We are plain folk and have no use for adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. Can't think what anybody sees in them," said our Mr. Baggins, and stuck one thumb behind his braces and blew out another even bigger smoke ring. Then he took out his morning letters and began to read, pretending to take no more notice of the old man. He had decided that he was not quite his sort, and wanted him to go away. But the old man did not.
Sorry.
But the old man did not move. He stood leaning on a stick and gazing at the hobbit without saying anything, so Bilbo got quite uncomfortable and even a little cross. "Good morning," he said at last. "We don't want any adventures here, thank you. You might try over the hill or across the water." By this he meant that the conversation was at an end. "What's a lot of things you use good morning for?" said Gandalf. "Now you mean that you want to get rid of me, and that it won't be good till I move off." Not at all, my dear sir. Let me see, I don't think I know your name." Yes, my dear sir. And I do know your name, Mr. Bilbo Baggins, and you do know my name, although you don't remember that I belong to it. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me. To think I thought it should have lived to be good morning by Belladonna Took's son, as if I was selling buttons at the door. Gandalf, good gracious me, not the wandering wizard that gave Old Took a pair of magic diamond studs, and that fastened themselves and never came undone till ordered. Not the fellow who used to tell such wonderful tales at parties about dragons and goblins and giants and the rescue of the princesses and the unexpected luck of the widow's son. Not the man that used to make such particularly excellent fireworks. I remember those. Old Took used to have them on Midsummer's Eve. Splendid! They used to go up like great lilies and snapdragons and laburnums of fire hang in the window all night. Hang in the twilight all night. Sorry. You will notice already that Mr. Baggins was not quite so prosy as he liked to believe. Also that he was very fond of flowers. Dear me, he went on, not the Gandalf who was responsible for so many quiet lads and lasses going off into the blue for mad adventures.
How many pages are you in?
6. This is page 6. Anything from climbing trees to visiting elves or sailing ships, sailing to other shores. Bless me, life used to be quite can't read, sorry. Bless me, life used to be quite you used to upset things badly in these parts once upon a time. I beg your pardon, but I had no idea you were still in business. Where else should I be, said the wizard. All the same, I am pleased to find you remember something about me. You seem to remember my fireworks kindly at any rate. That is not without hope. Indeed, for your old grandfather Took's sake, and for the sake of poor Belladonna, I will give you what you ask for. I beg your pardon? I haven't asked for anything. Yes, you have. Twice now. My pardon. I give it to you. In fact, I will go as far as to send you on this adventure. Very amusing for me, very good for you. And profitable, too. Very likely if you ever get over it. Sorry, I don't want any adventures, thank you. Not today. Good morning, but please come to tea. Anytime you like. Why not tomorrow? Come tomorrow. Goodbye. With that, the Hobbit turned and scuttled inside his round door, and shut it as quickly as he dared, not to be rude. Wizards, after all, are wizards. What on earth did I ask him to tea for? He said to himself as he went to the pantry. He had only just had breakfast, but he thought a cake or two and a drink of something would do him good after his fright. Gandalf, in the meantime, was still standing outside the door, and laughing long but quietly. After a while, he stepped up and with the spike of his staff scratched a queer sign on the Hobbit's beautiful green front door. Then he strode away, just about the time when Bilbo was finishing his second cake, and beginning to think he had escaped adventures very well. The next day, he had almost forgotten about Gandalf. He did not remember things very well, unless he put them down on his engagement tablet, like this: Gandalf, tea, Wednesday. Yesterday he had been too flustered to do anything of the kind. Just before tea time, there became a tremendous ring on the front doorbell, and then he remembered. He rushed and put on the kettle, put out another cup and saucer, and an extra cake or two, and ran to the door. I am so sorry to be waiting, he was going to say, when he saw that it was not Gandalf at all. It was a dwarf with a blue beard tucked into a golden belt, very bright eyes under his dark green hood. As soon as the door was opened, he pushed inside, just as if he had been expected. He hung his hooded cloak on the nearest peg. Swallow at your service, he said with a low bow. Bilbo Baggins at yours, said the Hobbit, too surprised to ask any questions for the moment. When the silence followed had become uncomfortable, he added, I am just about to take tea. Pray come and have some with me. A little stiff, perhaps, but he meant it kindly. And what would you do if an uninvited dwarf came and hung his things up in your hall without a word of explanation? They had not been at the table long, in fact. They had hardly reached the third cake when there came an even louder ring of the doorbell. Excuse me.
Sorry about the wind, guys.
Sorry. Can't control the weather. Oh, I'm just falling asleep.
You want me to massage it?
What?
You want me to massage it?
No.
Okay, continue.
I was trying to find my spot. Sorry. Excuse me, said the Hobbit, and he went off to the door. So you have got here at last. That was what he was going to say to Gandalf this time. But it was not Gandalf. Instead, there was a very old-looking dwarf on the step, with a white beard and a scarlet hood. And he too hopped inside as soon as the door was open, just as if he had been invited. I see they have already begun to arrive, he said when he caught sight of Dwallin's green hood hanging up. He hung his red one next to it. Balin, at your service, he said with his hand on his breast. Thank you, said Bilbo with a gasp. It was not the correct thing to say, but they had begun to arrive, had flustered him badly. He liked visitors, and he liked to know before they arrived. And he preferred to ask them himself. He had a horrible thought that the cakes might run short, and then he, as the host, he knew his duty, and stuck to it however painful. He might have to go without. "Come along in and have some tea," he managed to say after taking a breath. "A little beer would suit me better, if it is all the same to you, my good sir," said Balin with the white beard. "But I don't mind cake. Tea cake if you have any." "Lots," Bilbo found himself answering, to his own surprise, and he found himself scuttling off to the cellar and to fill a pint beer mug, and then to the pantry to fetch 2 beautiful ground seed cakes, which he had baked that afternoon for his after-supper morsel. When he got back, Balin and Dwalin were talking at the table like old friends. As a matter of fact, they were brothers. Bilbo plumped down the beer and the cake in front of him, when there came a loud ring at the bell again, and then another ring. Gandalf for certain this time, he thought, as he puffed along the passage. But it was not. It was 2 more dwarves, both with blue hoods, silver belts, and yellow beards. And each of them carried a bag of tools and a spade. And they hopped as soon as the door began to open. Bilbo was hardly surprised at all. "What can I do for you, my dwarves?" he said. "Keely, at your service," said the one. "And Feely," added the other, and they both swept off their blue hoods and bowed. "At yours and your families," replied Bilbo, remembering his manners this time.